So should the unemployed be allowed to sue? More jobless workers are alleging discrimination by businesses during the hiring process. And New York City may become the latest place to let them take a business to court over it. It'd follow in the footsteps of Oregon, New Jersey, and Washington, D.C., with more states looking to adopt similar measures. But is this creating a mess for businesses trying to hire? And should it be allowed to happen to begin with? With me now are Dan Mitchell, Rich Benjamin. Welcome back to the show, both of you gentlemen. I think this might be a little bit of a heated conversation. Dan, I'm going to start with you. This sounds a bit absurd. To be able to sue because you don't get a job because you've been out of work, isn't that just, you know, you're just out of luck, right?
Well, you're out of luck, but what worries me more about this proposal is that if you've been unemployed for a long time, you probably are a little bit radioactive to employers because they wonder, why has this person been out of work? Do they not have good work habits? Do they not show up on time? Do they steal from the company? So you're already starting with all these liabilities, and it's very unfortunate for the people that are honest and hardworking and just want a fair chance. But what happens when the government turns that potential employee who wants to get a job into a legal liability? Then you're going to have companies, I think, going out of their way trying to make sure that somehow those people don't even come through the door, because nobody wants some slip and fall lawyer to come sue them just on the basis that they hired person A instead of person B.
So, Rich, first set yourself up. Where do you fall on this issue?
I totally disagree, Sandra, with Dan, and he's making these people
You should
sound
be allowed to sue if you've been out of work and you feel a business didn't hire you because of that.
Sandra, this is not what we're talking about. He's making these people sound like they're criminals, and that's why they're out of work.
No, he's saying that allowing them to sue could backfire on the unemployed, because businesses would try not to get these people through the door in the first place.
Exactly the mentality that these people are worried about. He called them radioactive. Many people are unemployed because they've been outsourced and downsized. So let's establish that first. Okay, so there are legitimate reasons why they're unemployed in this rough economy. Now, when employers say, we're not even going to consider you, we're going to toss your resume out simply because you've been unemployed, they literally say that. But you're unemployed, you need not apply. That's not American.
The top of a bull market, boom times, if you walk in with a resume that shows that you've been out of work for a few years, an employer will look at that and it will be a red flag, and they'll say, what have you been doing?
We're talking about protecting a class of people who, and businesses are saying, you need not apply simply because you've been unemployed.
Dan, get back in here.
Well, I guess I sort of agree with the other guest there. I'm not implying that these people are bad. Maybe only 5% are bad, but employers are looking to hire the best possible people. And if you have someone who's been unemployed for a year and another person who's simply trying to climb the ladder, you probably think it's safer to go with the person who's trying to climb the ladder. And the one thing that really worries me is that if you put in some new protected legal class for these unemployed people, then employers are going to, as I said before, they're going to do everything they can not to have anything to do with the long-term unemployed. And I want to help these people. I want a vibrant, growing economy to help these people get back in the workforce. I don't want government dependency.
We can all agree on that. But so Rich, to Dan's point, the company just wants the best person for the job. They don't want lawsuits to get in the way of them picking the best person. And if you start a suing frenzy, that could be a mess.
Nobody's talking about a suing frenzy. If you want the best people for your job, fine. What these states are talking about is don't wholesale say these people are not qualified simply because they've been unemployed. And so if they're not discriminating, what do they have to be worried about? Why are they afraid of these laws?
Dan?
Well, first of all, we all discriminate every single day. When you choose a spouse, you're discriminating. Anytime an employer hires someone, they're discriminating against all the people who didn't get hired. So what we're really talking about is there a case of unjustified discrimination? Is a business deliberately passing over a better qualified person? And businesses want to make money.
So I have a whole new challenge.
They would only do that by accident, not on purpose.
I have a whole new challenge. Rich, how in court would you even prove that you were discriminated against because you were... You may not get hired because they didn't, think they didn't like your experience. They didn't like the last job you were at. They didn't like your track record. They don't necessarily tell you why they didn't hire you. So there could be a lot of frivolous lawsuits here.
Well, that's horrible when you're in this catch-22 if you don't know why you haven't gotten a job. So the standard you're talking about, the challenge you're talking about is intent. can you find a smoking gun where employers said, we have the intent of disqualifying this whole group of people simply because they haven't been employed? So in individual cases, you don't always know. But in the majority, it's a matter of establishing the intent of the business.
Dan, I don't know. I mean, I want the best person for the job, whatever company it is, whether it's a company I'm invested in, a company I'm working for. I want the best person for the job, and I don't want companies to be fearful they're going to get sued and hire the wrong person.
Well, that's my concern. I suspect in many cases the long-term unemployed person is the best option because they're hungry to get back on their feet. They don't want to be a moocher off government, and they want to work. But if you have the government combined with a bunch of trial lawyers making it so that the long-term unemployed are a potential limitless liability for a company, then what are you going to do? You're going to just hire from within. You're going to subcontract. You're going to avoid the long-term unemployed when the government does something that they may be doing for the best of reasons, because we all care about the long-term unemployed, but you have to think about the unintended consequences of government intervention.
So let's give last word to Rich here. I think we've really heard both sides of this story. And you say what?
This is what I say. We all want the best people in the job. Sometimes the best people in the job are those who've been unemployed for a long time, sometimes not. But we just want to be sure that in this economy that people are getting a fair shake and whole groups of people aren't just being tossed out. And we've seen evidence of this. And by the way, if you're a fancy person, you're unemployed, you're tossed out, you just get a business card, you call yourself a consultant. When you're a forklift operator, when you manage a restaurant, when you do all these kinds of things, they don't have the options like that. And so they've been unemployed for a long time, and we just want to look out.
All right, Dan Mitchell, Rich Benjamin, thank you, gentlemen, for a very nice argument. I think we heard both sides.